everyone, and welcome back or welcome to my channel. Today I'm talking about Heir by Sarah J Maas. Oh my god, I actually really love this one. This took my heart and got me into the series properly. I really liked that the story started to go in a lot of different directions. We didn't just have the main characters and their perspectives all in the glass castle. We got to kind of explore and open up the world a little bit more. I think this was quite nice to read after Assassin's Blade because we kind of see a lot of Celaena's past history and past trauma in Assassin's Blade, and we see the world opened up a bit more. And then in Heir of Fire, the world again is opened up a bit more, but we see her in this really low spot that she kind of reached at the end of Crown of Midnight. She's in a really depressed place. We've just found out that she's actually Aelin Galathynius, but she's still kind of shunning this identity and not embracing it because of how low she feels and everything she's been through as an assassin. And because she starts at such a low point as Celaena Sardothian, we get a really great character transformation in her throughout this book. She learns to overcome her fear of her Fae form. Oh my god, that was so hard to say, so many F's. And she also learns to use her fire power and start to master that. Not only do we have these physical transformations, but we also have her embracing her inner identity as Aelin rather than Celaena. And that kind of comes with reckoning with the fact that she has been a coward, that she's been evasive, that she's committed some kind of evils as an assassin, as Celaena. And we see her becoming courageous and starting to step into that queenly role. Not only that, but we get to meet Rowan, her Caranum, possibly her mate, that's what I think anyway so far, and we see them forming a kind of enemies-ish to not quite lovers yet, but good friends at least, definitely bonded to a large degree. And that was also a cool journey to witness. It's like book 4, love interest 4 at this point. We've had Dorian and Kale and Sam, and then we've got Rowan. It's like relentless, but I do think that Rowan is potentially a pretty good match for her. He's more equal to her, and I think he appreciates her powers and her as Aelin rather than Celaena, whereas Kale knows her as Celaena and, you know, is probably going to have a hard time facing her as Aelin and embracing every part of her. So yeah, I think it's a good change of love interest. I think he's a cool character. I like that he can turn into a hawk, and he's got a bit of a tragic backstory. I did not really like him in the beginning. I didn't really like when he bit her. He was a little bit abusive towards her, and then that sort of changes and he becomes a lot more caring towards her. But I did think that was a little bit toxic in the beginning. I was a bit like, don't know if I like this. It's a little bit like Tamlin. Didn't Tamlin bite Feyre there as well? I was like, no, not Tamlin 2.0. So I hope he doesn't turn into Tamlin 2.0. I hope he continues this positive trajectory and stops being a little bit toxic and abusive towards her, which I think he will, so I'll shut up about it now. I thought it was good to see Wendlin, a different land, different creatures. There were skinwalkers and this mysterious beast in its cave in the water, and we got to learn more about Maeve and the tensions there. We got to learn a little bit more about the Ash Drivers, although we didn't spend much time in the Wendlin city. We were more close to Doranel and what was the place called? Mist Ward, I can't remember. It's been a few weeks since I read it. But yeah, it was good world building. There was some good little side characters, and we learn about the Valak princes. We get this kind of murder mystery with the bodies being found. So it was quite an interesting plot line. We also had a decent plot line for Dorian. We had this romance with Saoirse, which was nice. He was sort of out on his own dealing with his magic and what to do about it. But other than that, not a lot happened in his storyline until the end, when of course he had this tragic end with Saoirse losing her head and him being collared, which was very shocking and very dramatic. I did like the ending, but other than that, his plotline was a little bit lackluster, although I do love Dorian. He's a good character. Then we have Kale's storyline, where we get to meet Edion, and he is a cool character in himself. At first it seems like he's corrupted to the king, then it turns out he's just been pretending and that he's very loyal to Aelin, even though he doesn't know that she's alive. It is good to see Kale team up with him and kind of work on the rebellion, sowing the seeds and kind of preparing for Aelin's return. Even though Kale and Edion butt heads and don't trust each other completely. It's good to see them kind of grumpily getting along for the greater good. Although, like, a few weeks removed, I can't remember a lot else about their storyline. So that's all I'll say about it. It was maybe one of the weaker ones, but it was good to get to know Edion at least. I had been looking forward to seeing him going back to Aniel, as it called, his home, which, you know, he was kind of promising to do for the whole book, and then in the end just didn't end up going because of everything that happened with Dorian and Saoirse. He ends up throwing his sword in the river and kind of turning his back on his identity. But I would have liked to see that part of the world and see the politics of that. But, you know, now that I'm a few books further in, I'm on like the tandem lead now, you know, I can see how, yeah, it makes sense for him to have stayed in Rifthold for Queen of Shadows. But yeah, I wonder if he will return to Aniel at some point. I feel like he should in the final book, perhaps, just to tie up any kind of unresolved things with his family that I don't know a lot about yet. So that's the only thing with him, but it's not really a criticism. And then finally, one of my favourite storylines was Manon's. She is such a cool character. She's an Iron-Toothed Witch, which we met in Crown of Midnight. We met Baba Yellowlegs. And the Blackbeaks are a little bit different. They're a bit cooler than Yellowlegs. And I like that each of the covens had their own like unique spin. The Yellowlegs, the Blue Bloods and the Blackbeaks all have kind of a different vibe and a different culture to them. And Manon in this book is kind of a bad guy. She's kind of been raised to be really brutal. They have a very punishing kind of culture within their coven. They really like whip each other and beat each other and humiliate each other, punishing each other in front of everyone. Sorry, I've said each other so many times. And this brutal culture is really interesting in itself. We have a really cool Fourth Wing style plot. Obviously this came out before Fourth Wing, and I can now see, you know, there's quite a bit of copying from Fourth Wing to this book, because we introduce wyverns, and Manon and the other witches kind of choose wyverns, bond with them, learn to fly with them, and they're going to be like an aerial fleet for the bad guys, the king and the duke and everyone. This was a really thrilling storyline, and like as an animal welfare worker, I felt really bad for the wyverns. They had really terrible welfare, especially our lovely boy Abraxas. I thought he was such a cool character. He had, you know, this attitude about him. He'd been used as like a bait beast, but he really fought back against kind of his oppressors. He killed the big Titus one, and Manon ends up bonding with him. But we see once they get out into the world together that he's actually a really sweet boy. He just loves to like sniff flowers, and she gets a little bit exasperated with him because she just wants him to be like a war machine. And like, yeah, he is a fighter and he does do what she says, and you know, he's brave, but he's not really a killer as such. He's actually quite a sweet animal who, you know, would be happy just in a meadow with flowers, not fighting in any wars. I think he's just like trying to preserve himself. But I think he does like potentially care for Manon and, you know, looks out for her. I like that she kind of fits him with some iron claws and teeth, even though that was probably like quite cruel. But, you know, helps him, you know, defend himself, I suppose. And she goes and gets some spider silk to patch up his wings so that he can fly. She tricks the spiders. They wanted to buy her beauty. I kind of think that's going to come back as a plot point. If it doesn't, I'll be disappointed. Although, you know, I'm a few books further in now, and I've kind of forgotten about it a bit. But I wonder if that will come back to haunt her at some point. Don't tell me if it does. I'll find out soon enough. And a bit towards the end of the storyline, where the blue blood Heir nearly dies, Manon saves her, but Keely the wyvern dies. I actually cried. Always cry at the dragon deaths in Fourth Wing as well. I thought that had really good emotional impact. And then after this, Manon's grandmother is not very happy with her that she showed some compassion, so she actually makes her kill a Crocan witch. Crocan? Don't know. But it's this other kind of witch that the Iron-Toothed witches have a kind of eternal battle with. And you get snippets about the context and the history of this, but you don't get the full story, so kind of will become clear as we move through the rest of the books, I'm sure. But it's cool. I think it's really good world building that the witches have such strong distinct cultures and history. I'm really excited to read on and learn more about them. I think that's me covered all of the different plots now. Really loved the pacing. I loved switching between the different threads of the story, going to different locations. It was really compelling, really held my interest, and I'm excited for more of that style going forwards. It's a lot more Game of Thrones as we get into it, as you go to different parts of the world, different characters, showing you different elements of the world. I can really see A Song of Ice and Fire inspiration in this series. Even though some of the characterization of the evil characters, the Valg characters are, you know, a little bit more one-dimensional. But it's okay, I suppose. No one's perfect. That's it for my thoughts. Tune in next week for my video on Queen of Shadows. Thanks for watching, and please subscribe. I'm trying to grow the channel, failing to grow the channel. So help me out. Thanks.